Hello everyone and welcome to our webinar. Today we are going to talk about Matter certification and Matter device certificates. So this is the third and last session of the webinar series about Matter. So we started talking about the introduction to Matter, then the building a Matter device, and now the Matter certification and device certificates. So I recommend you to watch the previous webinars if you are just arriving to this one. And to talk about the Matter certification and device certificates, we have our Director of Technical Marketing, Amey Inamdar. Welcome, Amey. How are you?
Hey, Pedro.
So thank you for being here. And so the stage, is yours.
Thank you. Thanks, Pedro. Hi, everyone. Greetings of the day. So this is the third webinar, as Pedro mentioned, which will talk about the Matter certification and device certificates. From the title, you may feel that why Matter certification and device certificates are being talked together, but there is a good reason about that, and we'll cover that in the due course. So let's go through the agenda of this webinar. Firstly, I will talk about what is the Matter certification process in detail. Then I will also talk about how Espressif Certification Assistance Service can help customers to do the certification of their devices with ease. Then I will go into device attestation and device certificates. And this is where I will also talk about the manufacturing complexity that gets added because of the device certificates and certain properties of those certificates. Then I will talk about the Espressif's DAC pre-provisioning service, which basically simplifies this device certificate programming for our customers. And then finally, I'll talk about the ESP Zerocode modules, uh, which is probably the easiest way to build the Matter devices. And then we'll go into the Q&A, and we would be glad to answer any of the questions that you may have. So let us begin. So why Matter certification, right? So in the first webinar delivered by my colleague Anant, you have heard about what Matter protocol is. But one of the key features or the key promise of Matter is the seamless interoperability amongst the devices that are basically Matter certified. So with this as a key goal, the certification really helps to ensure the compliance to the specification, and it also ensures that all these devices and the phones and the voice assistants, they talk to each other as specified in the specification. um, and finally, when it comes to the consumer, having the Matter logo and the certified products really help, because now the consumers can choose the genuine certified products, and they can be assured of the functionality, interoperability, and all the good things that Matter delivers. Now, what are the ways to get this certification, right? So the first way for any product to get the certification is actually undergoing the complete product testing. And now this certification can be for an individual product or a family of products. For example, you may be building a complete set of different lights, including downlights and bulbs and panels. Uh, Probably you can consider product family certification if from the software perspective and the Matter configuration perspective, they are similar. So this is probably the most common way of doing the certification. Now, the second one is certification by similarity. If you have products which are very similar in nature to the pre-certified product, then you can go for certification by similarity. And then if you are getting a pre-certified product which is a white labelable or rebrandable product from an ODM, then you can also go for a certificate transfer program whereby an existing matter certification can be transferred in your name. So let's understand the product testing based certification process. So it all begins with developing your own product, right? Once you have developed your product, the next stage step is basically getting the CSA membership. And when we talk about CSA membership, so on the CSA portal, you can actually apply for CSA membership. So now CSA membership has different levels of memberships. First one is the associate member, and associate member is a free membership, and this is primarily targeted for the companies who want to build white labeled or rebranded certified products. Then there are three other membership levels which have their own benefits. But these three membership levels basically allow you to build your own matter products and go for certification through the full testing. So this is where you get the certificate, the CSA membership, and once you have the CSA membership, the next thing that you get is the vendor ID. Now, vendor ID, the I will call it VID, and also the product ID PID are very similar to the way the USB devices have VID PID. In the case of Matter devices, there are 16-bit VID PIDs which uniquely recognize each product, and so each vendor is also recognized using his own 16-bit unique VID. So you get this vendor ID from the CSA. The next stage is now you have developed your product, you have gotten the VID, you go for the pre-certification run. This pre-certification run happens in your own lab. Once you are a CSA member, you get access to the certification tool, which is available on CSA portal. And you can use this certification tool to run all the certification tests in your own lab to ensure that your product is indeed passing all the certification tests. Once this certification run is successful, you need to approach an ATL, an authorized test lab. And this authorized test lab basically can run the certification tests on behalf of you. Now, CSA has authorized multiple test labs, and the list can be found on the CSA website. So you can choose the lab of your choice and you can submit your product to the lab for certification. Now, along with the product samples, you do need to submit two other things. One is the declaration of conformity, which is more of a document with your signatures and everything. And the second one is the protocol implementation conformance statement, which is also short formed as PICS, which is essentially an XML document. And the PICS basically lists all the mandatory and optional characteristics that a product has. So it basically defines the capabilities of product in the context of matter features. So once you submit these details to the test lab conducts its own testing, and at the end of it, it delivers the report to the CSA. Also, in between, the ATL may get back to you asking for some justifications or some additional tests, or if there are failures, you need to provide fixes. But after the successful run, the results go to CSA, and then you have to approach CSA again with the same declaration of conformity and protocol implementation conformance statement. In addition to these two documents, you also need to submit transport attestations and security attestation. Now, transport attestations depend on what type of product you are building, and they are essentially the transport level certifications. Like if you are building a Wi-Fi matter accessory, you need to submit Wi-Fi Alliance certificate as well as Bluetooth SIG certificate. If you are building a thread accessory, you have to submit thread certification as well as Bluetooth SIG certification. So once you submit this documentation, and when CSA receives the results from test lab, the CSA reviews these information and finally gives the certification to your product. So when you receive the certification, you get bunch of artifacts from CSA, and they are essentially a certificate, matter logos that you can use on your product branding, the listing of your product on CSA website, and your product also gets listed in something called DCL. We'll talk about it later. And then you get certification declaration, which is a binary blob delivered to you. Now, certification declaration is a blob that is signed by CSA and that contains the product certification information. The certification declaration is present in the device, and the corresponding information is also made available in the DCL. And certification declaration has all the required information to identify the matter certification for this product, which includes the vendor ID and list of product IDs. It is list here because a family of products can be certified together. A type of device, a certification type, whether it's the provisional certification or an official final certification. Also, there are some additional data present in the certification declaration. So now this is the process for a complete full product testing based certification. Now, there are two other programs that we talked about. One is the certification by similarity and certification transfer program. Both these programs don't have to undergo an extensive testing because the certification has happened for these devices. And then you only are applying for certification based on the original certification that is already present. So if we talk about certification transfer program, it is basically associate and adopter members. They can apply for certificate transfer program. For products, these are products certified by either promoter or participant members. This is especially to facilitate white labeling and rebranding of products. Say, for example, ODMs building the products, which can be then bought by any brand owners to be sold as their own branded devices. In this case, only the packaging, enclosure, and user interface is allowed to be changed. Now, when we talk about certification by similarity basically facilitates deriving the certification based on your own product, which is already certified. So, if you think that the product is almost the same and there are only minor changes, then you can apply for certification by similarity by giving the justification to CSA. In this case, the original product should run the same matter software as of the new product. And as per the CSA review, the CSA may ask you to conduct some additional testing. In both these cases, you don't have to undergo the complete certification through the authorized test lab for the certification. Now, in the case of OTA, there is a requirement that any new software upgrade also needs to be ensured to comply with the matter specification. And this is especially important because many of the times products require frequent fixes and upgrades to address the bugs and security issues in the product. In this case, new device firmware can undergo rapid recertification process, and this is applicable only when the original product has passed full authorized test lab based testing and has gotten successful matter certification. This is available to qualified CSA members, and this is currently in experimental form. So in this case, for the rapid recertification, what you essentially do is you test the product with the new firmware in your own lab. Then you submit the test report to ATL for review, and then ATL reviews the test report, and then you just submit application to the CSA. When the CSA successfully reviews the application, you receive the certification in form of modified DCL listing, or you get a new DCL listing for your new firmware version, and you also get a new certification declaration. So now let's talk about Espressif Certification Assistance Service. So Espressif basically helps our customers based on our own experience to certify matter products. In this, we can work with the lab to assist the complete certification for the customer's products. So in this case, we assist customers doing the complete certification steps that we discussed in the previous slide. If required, we can also assist for subparts of the certification process, such as running the pre-cert test runs in Espressif's lab to ensure that the product passes all the required tests, and then the customer can take the certification on his own to the lab. So Espressif customers can also benefit from a pre-negotiated certification price from the Espressif's partner test lab, and that way they can get benefited from the for the certification if they are going for certification directly. Now let's talk about device attestation and certificates. So in the case of matter specification, there are certain attestation goals. So the first one is the certification attestation. The commissioner who is commissioning the matter product or any other entity should be able to ensure that the product that it is talking to, it has obtained a valid and verifiable matter certification. Then the next is device attestation. The commissioner or any other entity should be able to ensure that the matter device it is talking to is indeed a genuine matter device and not a counterfeit device. The third goal is software attestation. The firmware version running on the particular matter device, software that firmware version should also be matter compliant, and that should be verifiable by the controller or the commissioner. And all of this needs to be cryptographically verifiable, and preferably it should happen without requiring centralized infrastructure. So these are the attestation goals, and the way these attestation goals are achieved are they begin at the distributed compliance ledger, which is commonly short formed as a DCL. Now, DCL is a non-centralized, that is distributed, and a cryptographically secure database. So you can assume that it is not at the central place, and it can be fully verifiable, and no unauthorized entities can make any changes to this distributed compliance ledger. The commissioner and other devices can read these DCL entries, and then they can verify the authenticity and use this DCL as a root of trust for various attestation requirements that we talked about in the last slide. So this is how the DCL looks like, right? So the DCL basically includes 4 different types of entries. First one is the product attestation authorities information. What they are will look in the next slide. The vendor's own information, which also includes who are all the vendors and what VIDs are allocated to these vendors. Then the device models and their certification status. This is corresponding to the certification declarations that CSA has issued. So this is the information where the commissioner or any other entity can verify the certification status of the device. And then finally, device software version info. For in the case of any new OTA upgrade, the new DCL entry will be present for the new upgrade firmware. So how does device attestation work? So device attestation is based on a public-private key cryptography, and the device attestation's root of trust begins at the DCL, as I mentioned. So DCL basically has the list of product attestation authorities, there is PAA certificates, and these certificates are listed in the DCL. So any entity can have access to this list of PAAs. Now, the PAAs are the first level CA, first level signing authorities, who sign something called product attestation intermediaries. And the product attestation intermediaries are essentially the second level signing authorities. The PAIs, that is the second level signing authorities, they sign the device attestation certificates, which are short form as DAC. So DACs are the unique certificates that are present in each matter device. So the commissioner now, or any other entity for that matter, they can look at a particular DAC and they can verify the authenticity of DAC by backtracking this chain and finally looking up in the DCL for the PAA who establishes the root of trust for that certificate chain. So this way, the actual device attestation can take place to ensure that this device indeed has a certificate which is signed, which is a valid certificate and is actually signed by an authentic PAA and then PAI. So now let's look at what are the manufacturing implications or manufacturing requirements that arise due to this. Now, as we discussed, each device needs to have the DAC certificate signed using CSA approved PA. The private key of the DAC, that is the private key corresponding to the device attestation certificate. Now, this is itself is a device identity and it needs to be protected and it should be securely stored in the device. Then there is also additional data present in each device, which is basically a unique passcode and verifier, which goes into the QR code of the device. This data is used at the time of commissioning of the device to establish the possession of the device, so that this is used as a proof of possession and also to establish a secure channel of communication. Now, let's look at how Espressif's DAC pre-provisioning service helps in some of these aspects. Now, we looked at the manufacturing requirements. Now, if you want to build your own DAC provisioning infrastructure, you can understand that it can really be complex and time consuming. You have to build the entire device programming, certificate generation, certificate signing yourself. Not only that, now your factory also needs to be secured to be able to work with all this cryptographic material like device private key, the signing private key, which is signing the device certificates, and the data that is generated unique to each device, which is the passcode and verifier. There are some services which offer PKI as service and they can provide DAC certificates. But even in that case, you would require some equipment set up in your manufacturing factory. And this can many a times lead to upfront investment as well as the time for setting up your factory. And then also unique data programming, that is programming unique certificate and the unique data for the QR code. It can indeed take more time for each device on your manufacturing line. Now, to solve these problems of the customers or to make it easy for the customer, Espressif offers DAC pre-provisioning service. Espressif is a CSA approved PA, and we have built the secure certificate signing and manufacturing infrastructure. So Espressif offers DAC pre-provisioning service using which Espressif connectivity modules and SOCs, they can be pre-provisioned with these certificates securely in Espressif's factory. When I say securely provisioned, we ensure that the private key corresponding to DAC gets generated on the chip and never leaves the chip. Also, the signing of these certificates happens securely in the cloud, and then the certificates get programmed in each of the module or the SOC. Now, these modules are and SOCs, they are locked to ensure that these sensitive data like DAC private key cannot be obtained by any entity except a trusted software that can execute on these chips. So when the chips or modules are in transit or they are in the contract manufacturer's place, it is not possible to trivially read the contents to extract this sensitive information from them. And then these modules and SSCs also get programmed with unique passcode and verifier. And this basically also simplifies generating this information which is unique for each device. And then you can generate device QR codes easily from that database. And then finally, when customers receive the secured pre-provisioned modules, they are also delivered with the database that contains these module identifiers, certificates, and the passcode and verifier. So this is what the Espressif DAC pre-provisioning service is. Now let's talk about ESP Zerocode modules, which further simplify the certification and manufacturing both. Now, what if a customer wants to do their own device, or they want to build their own device which is Matter certified, but the device is really simple device like a smart switch, light, or blinds, and there is no specific software requirement, and it's a very simple device. then this certification and manufacturing can be too complicated for them. And that's where ESP zero code modules come into the picture. So ESP zero code modules, basically these are the modules which can be put into any product to make that product matter certifiable. So these modules are pre-programmed and pre-provisioned matter certified modules. So these pre-programmed modules essentially run a certified firmware, and then they are provisioned with the DAC and the unique data for each device, so that the entire complexity of the manufacturing is removed. And now you can easily put these modules in your product to build the connected or the matter compatible product. Espressif supports most common device types with this standard functionality. For example, light bulbs or different form factor of lights, sockets, receptacles, and switches, and also the blind controllers. We are continuing to add more and more devices with the supported by the ESP zero code modules. And then ESP zero code modules can support both matter over Wi-Fi as well as matter over thread accessories using Espressif's ESP32C series and ESP32H2 SoCs and modules. Now, what are the advantages of the ESP zero code modules? This is probably the simplest way to create matter enabled devices, because all you have to do is integrate these modules in your device. Then matter certification is obtained and maintained by Espressif in this case. The customers can just use the certificate transfer program to get this matter certification transferred in their own name, and they can start selling these products. With Matter, no custom phone apps or voice assistant skills are required, because all the existing ecosystem phone apps are basically capable of commissioning and controlling these devices. This significantly reduces your engineering. Then, working with all Matter compatible ecosystems such as Alexa, Google, Apple, Samsung, these products they have all the smart functionality that you would require, so that you can also get remote control of these devices built using Matter zero code modules. And all you have to do is use existing ecosystem phone applications for that. And then Espressif also provides device management and OTA dashboard for all the devices, so that you can monitor your devices in the field. You can perform the over-the-air upgrades for these devices as well. Then optionally, they also come with ESP Rainmaker cloud connectivity. In case you want devices to have a separate cloud connectivity, ESP zero code modules can have an optional ESP Rainmaker cloud connectivity and their own phone applications, which are also Matter compatible. That way you can have your own complete Matter enabled products, as well as phone applications which can control these devices both locally as well as remotely. So how can I try this thing out? So we have built a zero code console. So you can visit zerocode.espressif.com to take a look at it. Let's quickly look at the demo video of how the zero code console really works and how you can quickly build the products using ESP zero code modules. So yes, as you see in this video, you can actually build these products with ease. So that's all for this webinar. We thank you for your presence here. And now we are ready to take any questions that you may have.
Thank you, Ame, for your presentation. And as you told you, we have a Q&A session right now. So please, this is now it's the time for questions. We already answered some questions live in the chat. So again, this is the last webinar about Matter. It doesn't mean that we are not going to do any other Matter webinar. We are still like planning more webinars for you guys. So it will be something that Espressif will continue. So this is the last, but last of this series. So Ame, do you have anything else to share about this Matter webinar series?
Yes, certainly. So our goal is basically to address all different types of questions that we frequently get from our customers. Right, Matter being a new technology, it has a lot of potentials, but there are also questions that our customers usually ask. So through these webinars, we have tried to help our customers not only at the very engineering level, but even also at the product management level to understand what is required to build these Matter products, right? So as Pedro said, yes, we will continue this endeavor of providing this information to our customers through different mediums with additional webinars. So yeah, that's everything. Thank you.
Yeah, so now we have like a really short break, maybe 1 minute, and then we'll be back for answering the audience questions. Again, thank you. Okay, so we are back for the Q&A. So to join us, we have Chanchu from Espressif. Hello.
Hi, hello.
So thank you for being here to help us for the Q&A session. And to start, I have already here one question for you guys. Okay, here's the question. For product testing based on Matter certification, what are the various costs involved?
Um, sure, I'll take that question. So for the product certification based on the complete testing, so the first thing is the CSA membership fees. As you know, that you have to be a non-associate member. You have to be either adopter, participant, or promoter member to get your product certified using testing. So the CSA membership fees, you can find more details on the CSA website. Then, as we discussed, you have to approach an authorized test lab, and the lab will have its own charges based on the efforts that are required to run the certification testing. Once the labs submit their results to CSA, again, there is a certification fees that you have to pay to CSA to get your product certification artifacts. So, those are essentially the three different costs that are involved in getting the certification for your Matter product.
Okay, thank you. And the second question, I think we have a lot of questions from the audience. Thank you for the questions. And the second one, I think it's like 3 questions in one. So, what are the benefits of getting certification? Can't we launch the products without certifications? Can we launch our products with test certificates from CSA? I think this question is from one guy. So, yeah.
Okay, so yeah, I will take this question. So basically, from CSA side, the Meta working group launched the official Meta certification testable program to ensure that all the Meta implementation is compatible with the Meta spec, and ensure that all these devices can work together under the same Meta fabric. Yeah, so basically, the answer is yes. So every Meta devices need to go to the certification test and get the certificate from the CSA. And technically, there is some way to ensure that if the device is not certified, it cannot be commissioned to the Meta fabric. So there is some device attestation flow, and the commissioner will verify these devices have the correct device certificate, as well as the certificate declaration from CSA. Yeah, so basically the answer is yes. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. And the next question, but before going to the next question, I would like to ask to the audience, where are you guys from? I see people like from Italy. We already know some of you guys. You are attending in all our webinars, so thank you for being here again. And for the new ones, please just let me know, where are you from? Okay, so the next question, can you shed some lights on the Espressif DAC pre-provisioning service pricing? Sorry.
Sure. I can take that question. So, yes, Espressif's DAC pre-provisioning service may be the most cost-effective solution to have the DAC provision modules at for your product development and production. In terms of pricing, you can fill up the form that will be made available in the video description here. But in terms of the cost structure, it is a very small one-time setup fee that we charge, and then there is a small per device or per module component that gets added. So essentially, it's not a significant capital expenditure, and this cost you can this is more as a pay as you go pricing that we have for the DAC pre-provisioning service.
Okay, good. So not last question, but another question we got. Do we have to pay for each product even if we buy membership such as adapter?
Yeah, I will take that question. So yes, even if you are an adopter member, where it is a paid membership, the product certification has a different fees associated. And yes, you'll find all of this information from the CSA portal itself. So yes, you can find this information from CSA portal. But as my understanding goes, yes, you have to pay the per device certification fees to get the certification.
Okay, thank you. The next question. Is it possible to use the Zerocode to boilerplate a Matter device with Espressif and then customize/add capabilities to the firmware from that base?
Yeah, basically, I think it's possible. Our Zerocode is still a Meta implementation, but additionally, we add some additional features like the remake integration. Yeah, but I think the customers still are able to implement their own code application logic based on our Zerocode solution.
Yeah, okay, thank you for the explanation. And I think this one would be the last question. Could you please share some examples about family products certification?
So for the family certification, actually it's a new certification type released by CSA. I think it's last year. Yeah. So it's mainly for the cases that the matter part, the feature are all the same, but with some other changes, which is not related to MET protocol itself, like the different power supply. Like some power is for the US market, and some others for the maybe the Europe region. Yeah. So and as well as some other changes, like the device with a different color or with some different shape. But the one important thing is the matter-related features should be the same. So in this case, these devices can apply on the same family. Yeah, I think it's a good option to save some cost for some very similar devices. Yeah.
Yeah, okay, thank you. So we have a hello from Germany. So I will just try to get this this question. Just 1 second. Where is the question? Oh, it's okay, it's here. Sorry. So can the Zerocode version speak DALI QNX or 1-10 or PWM for controlling Luminaire drivers or similar things?
Yeah, Pedro, I'll take that question. Certainly. So, ESP Zerocode console and Zerocode firmware, it is continuously evolving product. Right now, it supports PWM as one of the interfaces for the lighting luminaires. However, we do plan to continue adding more interface support, such as KNX or DALI or 0 to 10 volt current. 0 to 10 volt voltage based control. So we do plan to continue expanding ESP0 code console with additional driver support, with support for more modules from our side. Please note that also the ESP32H2 based thread-based end device support will soon available in the ESP0 code console, and also, of course, support for additional types of devices. So right now, while it is the lights and switches, please stay tuned to have additional devices supported from the Zero Core console.
Okay, thank you. So I'd like to thank you guys for answering all the questions. So if you have any questions, please you can ask in the comments. We will leave a form in the video description if you want to, like share some, or like if you don't want to share your question publicly, so you can ask directly by this form. And again, thank you audience for all the questions and for like to be part of this amazing journey. This is the last session for the Matter series, so thank you so much everyone for your support. We really appreciate that. Yeah, so I think that's it for today. So guys, if you have anything else to share, or otherwise we can just finish this stream. Yeah, okay, thanks.
Thank you. Thanks, everyone.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.